Hello, everyone, and welcome to our halftime interview series. I am your host, Sammie Pavlov. I played field hockey at Smith, and I am a recent graduate, the first ever virtual graduate of Smith College. I am so excited. I'm here today with a fellow Smithy, fellow economics major, Phoebe Moore, who played softball and basketball at Smith. Thank you so much for joining us, Phoebe.
Gosh, thanks so much for having me, Sammie. It's so nice to meet you. I didn't realize you were an econ major too. I'm so sorry about that.
I know, but it's a great talking point. It's a tough major though.
Sure. And congratulations on graduation. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. And we were just chatting that your daughter attends Smith. That has to be super exciting.
So we've got a legacy going on, and we both just absolutely love Smith. But she, left early. I went out and got her in March.
Yes.
And she unfortunately missed her first softball season, but she feels blessed to be a first year at this point. So, but she's well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. And fingers crossed. I know the announcement for Smith is coming out soon and for athletics, but we keep our fingers crossed. But I wanted to chat. What brought you to Smith?
Short answer, relatives. I really wanted to go to William and Mary actually, and went out there to look at the campus, and we were driving up to Dartmouth. And my mother said, well, my cousin went to Smith. I don't know if you want to look at it. And we said, well, it's on the way. Honestly, pulled into town. I'll remember the Great Court gates. I'll never forget it. And I stepped foot on the campus and said, this is where I'm going to school. It was that quick. We met the basketball coach, and I was extremely at home. It was just a feeling of just comfort stepping onto the beautiful grounds of campus.
Awesome. And what was I going to ask? I went blank for a moment, but you had an incredible career. You are a dual sport athlete. How was that? How did you balance being economics and also playing basketball and softball at Smith?
Yeah, Sammie, I think a lot of that is ingrained in us, those of us that are student athletes. From high school, you're balancing all these things. I don't know that it was that much harder at Smith. I think you're just used to it. It's part of your structure. And I think for young women today, it's really important. I think athletics has played such a major role in my career development. So the balance wasn't too difficult. I've always loved to exercise. So, always stayed in shape, but, it's nice to have a break after studying really, and getting down to the gym and coming back and getting back at your work. So, really just stayed true to who I was and stayed dedicated and used every extra second to study or, get a few shots in. But, continuing that balance, continuing your mental and physical health, that's really how you do it.
Yeah. And I want our viewers to know that you are an incredible athlete, both on the softball field and on the basketball court. I have a few of your stats that at the time you were the leading scorer with 1,441 career points, team captain, New England Women's Basketball Association All-Star selection. I mean, I could go on, but you were a true baller. When you're looking back on your basketball time, what is your favorite memory?
I have a lot of special memories at Smith. I have to be honest. It's hard to choose one, and it's really a good question. I thought about it this morning because I knew you were going to ask, but
Sure.
I wanted to come back to, oddly enough, the losing a teammate is still difficult to talk about. But it brought us together closer as a team. So that was during season that we lost Kimmy Tyler, number 23, the night before we were to play, not Babson, but Brandeis. They were coming in, and those memories are so vivid because it was such a shock. But at the same time, again, it brought us together. And so, for example, that weekend or the next weekend, some of the folks that are still around, like Lynn Oberbillig and Bonnie May, will love to hear the story that we just happened to find some paint cans, and we painted the side of the soccer hill. Mm-hmm. We put a large 23 on the hill so that everyone on campus could see how much we loved her. It's still difficult to talk about, but that really brought us together. And so we were this really tight-knit group for the next couple of years, actually. And to this day, we're really close. So that brought us together as a team, and we actually performed really well after that also. So it really wasn't, one shot or one game. We did do well, our junior and senior year, but it was that moment of team bonding and togetherness, and again, really dear friends to this day.
That's awesome to hear, how you were bonded and still are connected. I think that's one of the biggest perks of Smith Athletics is your teams are so close. And we were chatting before this interview about the celebrating 100 years of basketball. Can you talk about this? Because
I'd love to talk about that. So, I had other opportunities. I think many student athletes know that they choose the Division III or they choose Smith because of all the other things that Smith has to offer. But, a lot of us could have played Division I, Division II. For me, Smith was that great kind of just go between, if you will. In other words, maybe it wasn't free sweatsuits or private tutoring or private meals or flying all over the country playing Division I, but yet at Division III we had all these, or at Smith particularly, we had all these wonderful opportunities, and one was the 100-year celebration of women's basketball. And so our coach and some of the administrators in the athletic facility were involved in celebrating. And so we had Pat Summit, for example, from Tennessee, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago, but she came in and I sat next to her at a Smith game.
Wow.
And what we really talked about was really that kind of the academic or the historical side of women's basketball and how it came in 1893, basically a year after Naismith invented the game. And so even a good friend of mine was one of those who put the bloomers on, and we got to go to I was on the committee, and we got to go to the 1993 Division I Final Four in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
And a group, friends of mine from Smith wore the bloomers, and they did the whole passing the ball without dribbling it, covering all your skin, like they did with the peach baskets in the alumni gymnasium. So it was a reenactment. So the entire year was really fun. And I actually still have, if you can see that ball right there, that has a little imprint of the celebration of 100 years of women's basketball. So every ball we played with from Spalding came with this nice imprint. And, we just had really nice dinners and celebrations. And again, learning the value of the sport in our lives, as opposed to just being wined and dined. It was a nice reflection on the game of basketball and women's sports in general. So that was really a cool year. Yeah. So that was 1992 and 3. I think we did it.
That's awesome. That is so cool to hear. And it's so great that Smith has so much history and, volleyball starting, I think, at Mount Holyoke College. So there's a lot of history in the Pioneer Valley for sports and women in sport. I want to talk about, after you've done your final basketball season, your final Smith season, your softball season, you graduate. And then you end up attending the New England School of Law, where you now operate your own practice in Michigan. Can you tell me, what drove you to law school and then to open up your own practice?
Sure. Just always attracted to the law. A dear friend of my father's was a lawyer, and always wanted to help people at an arm's length. You take on these leadership qualities really from athletics. When you're a captain, and so you can give that same kind of leadership and direction to clients about their very important issues. And so I always wanted to be in that position of helping others. And so honestly, I didn't get into Harvard. I think I got waitlisted at Suffolk, and I thought, I'm going to go to New England. It's great. It's supposedly a great school. Actually, it still is, second highest bar pass right next to Harvard. And then I could live in Boston, of course, and I had to do that at that point, just because it looked so fun. So just studied my butt off, Sammie, and decided I missed home and that I did want to, in fact, live in Michigan. I do love Michigan and all that we have to offer here. It's a different space than Massachusetts. The density is a little bit different. But in any event, started out at some huge firms in Detroit, carrying other men's, generally briefcases, if you will. And knew quite quickly that I needed to get into a small practice to be able to help people in my community and also to raise children and raise little basketball players and little softball players. It's much better to be in a small town, where today I walk 2 miles to work. So, but I did my time at the larger firms and learned a lot, and it's really beneficial. But today, sitting here as the owner of a firm that's been here for 20 years, I think, you can't understate the value of leadership in athletics and at Smith for all that it teaches you about being professional and competitive at the same time. So it's really a part of every day.
And I want to ask how your classes at Smith helped you in law school, economics or otherwise. Do you think you were well prepared from Smith?
So, absolutely. Supply and demand, that doesn't help me a bit today.
Yeah.
But it certainly does in terms of when I look at my, accounting, or I look at my receivables or payables, and all of that certainly helps a little bit. You'd have to get into specific accounting to say it actually benefits me today. But the difficulty of the study helped prepare me for law school.
Sure.
So honestly, like having Andy Zimbalist the last year, and that class was so fun, but yet you had to work so hard. I actually had the first class of the economics of professional sports with him.
Wow, I took that class.
He's still a good friend of mine today. We actually had dinner last year. I took him to a Tigers game and to dinner here. But so it's really, again, just the rigor of it, not necessarily the subject matter. But Smith definitely preps you for that next level. Highly recommend it, Sammie.
Okay, noted. Starting your own firm, what do you think some of the biggest challenges and benefits are? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but
Yeah, sure. So the challenge is just being risky enough to do it on your own. So I started with a partner, and it went really well for a while, but we were actually in different communities and we charged different rates, so it didn't work beyond a year or two. But it gave me the strength to kind of get out on my own. It really, having the contacts, having the help available to you when it's just you, so networking before. So those are the challenges, is having folks around to help when it's just you. Sure, there's some financial struggles, but really not in a service business, like a psychological firm, a law firm, even a medical firm. I mean, you really just rent an office, and your reputation, your goodwill is your product. So what that means is, again, it goes back to everything about who you are. And so I am a member of our local Rotary Club. I absolutely love Rotary International, and service above self is our motto. And I love traveling around the world and going to Rotary meetings and meeting other people who feel the same way. So becoming a member of your community is a really valuable asset. And now, for example, I coached 3rd through 6th grade girls basketball for 17 years.
Wow, I love
can
that.
honestly tell you that some of my best personal injury cases were kids from that program.
No.
Right? So what did I do to benefit my business? I became involved in my community and my kids' lives. And so in a small community, but even in a large one, you can do that. You can find, the Women's Lawyers Associations. You can find women's groups, men's group. I guess it doesn't matter, but become a member and learn to network. And then, people are good. People are generally good. We can think such negative things, especially during COVID and all that has gone wrong. But people will come back and say, I like that Phoebe Moore. I met this person that seemed, competent and confident and somebody that could help me, and they'll call you. So I think that answers the questions about what the challenges were and what I did kind of to, step through those challenges and become successful.
That is great advice, Phoebe. And I want to end on that. With all the negativity going on, it is so nice to hear some positive thoughts and what we can do and still give back to our community. Thank you, Phoebe, for taking time out of your day to speak with us.
You're so welcome. I'm really proud of what you guys are doing. So this airs on the Friday night game that you play?
Yes. So
Okay.
We will air it. And I'm sure you've been following the Smith basketball season and Smith athletics and softball through your daughter. So I know you will be active in our community, and I'm sure you'll get back on Smith campus soon. And I hope it's sooner rather than later.
Yes, I do too. Okay. Thanks again.
Yeah. Take care.